Tragedy in a small southern Utah town. We continue to follow the murder-suicide that left 3 adults and 5 children dead.
Their bodies were found inside an Enoch home yesterday afternoon, and that's where we find Fox 13 News reporter Jenna Bree tonight. She joins us live.
Jenna, what can you tell us about this investigation so far?
Bob and Kelly, police believe a man shot and killed his 7 family members before taking his own life at this home on the 4900 North block of Albert Drive. There's no timeline on when the family was killed, but the Enoch City mayor says witnesses saw members of the family at a church activity on Tuesday night. The 3 adults were identified as Michael and Tausha Haight, Tausha's mother, Gail Earl, and 5 children who were not identified by name, but range in ages from 4 to 17 years old. After being married for nearly 20 years, court records show 40-year-old Tausha Haight filed for divorce on December 21st in Iron County. In a briefing today, Enoch City manager Rob Dotson said authorities received a call Wednesday that Tausha had missed a previously scheduled appointment, and that's why police made the welfare check yesterday afternoon.
A few hours after that welfare check call came in and Tausha was not located, a missing persons report was requested and was received by Cedar City Police Department due to Michael's office location in Cedar City. Once determined Michael's home address was in Enoch City, the missing persons report was passed to Enoch City officers, at which point the welfare check to locate Tausha became an effort to find the entire family.
Michael Haight was listed as an Allstate insurance agent with an office in Cedar City, but a family friend told Fox 13 News that the 42-year-old had left the company within the last week. Dotson says the bodies have been removed from the home and autopsies will be performed within the next coming days. Reporting live in Enoch, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News.
According to the Associated Press, dated January 5th, 2023, police reveal during a Thursday news conference that officers investigated 42-year-old Michael Haight and his family a couple of years prior, suggesting possible earlier problems inside the household. Enoch Police Chief Jackson Ames did not elaborate. Investigators were aware of the divorce petition, but didn't know if it was the motivation behind the killings, Mayor Jeffrey Chestnut said. The killings rocked the small town of Enoch in southern Utah, about halfway between Salt Lake City and Las Vegas. It's in one of the fastest growing areas of the country, and communities of new homes on big lots are made up primarily of large families that belong, like most in Utah, to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, known widely as the Mormon Church. Many residents work and do business in nearby Cedar City, a city of about 35,000 people that serves as a commercial hub for Enoch, which doesn't have its own downtown. The deceased were members of the faith and well-known in town. Many residents served in church alongside members of the slain family or went to school with the children, city officials said. It is a tremendous blow to many families who have spent many nights with these individuals who are now gone, Mayor Chestnut said. City manager Rob Dotson said people are feeling loss. They're feeling pain, and they have a lot of questions. After nearly 20 years of marriage, court records show 40-year-old Tausha Haight had filed for divorce on December 21st in Iron County. It is yet to be confirmed whether Tausha and Michael were living together at the time of the incident. It's also not known what led to Tausha filing for divorce. Those who were murdered were Michael and Tausha Haight, Tausha's mother, 78-year-old Gail Earl, and police appear that Michael Haight took his own life, as well as 5 children, a 17-year-old girl, a 12-year-old girl, a 7-year-old girl, a 7-year-old boy, and a 4-year-old boy, all children of the Tausha and Michael Haight family. Michael Haight was listed as an all-state insurance agent with an office in Cedar City, but a family friend told Fox 13 News that the 42-year-old had left the company within the last week. Dotson went on to explain, quote, once determined Michael's home address was in Enoch City, the missing person report was passed to Enoch City officers, at which point the welfare check to locate Tausha became an effort to locate the entire family, end quote. The welfare check performed by Enoch City Police was performed at the home of 4 p.m. when the bodies of the family were found inside. There is no timetable of when the family were killed, but Enoch City Mayor Jeffrey Chestnut said witnesses saw members of the Haight family at a church activity last Tuesday night. According to the police right now, there are minor updates as to what is currently going on with the investigation. And here we will play the updates for you.
Understand that the investigation is ongoing, and so there's a lot of information we can't share, and it would not be appropriate to do so. We appreciate the media, we appreciate the public, and the mayor will talk a little bit about what's happening in our community, and we'll go from there. So yesterday, January 4th, officers from the Enoch City Police Department were summoned to 4923 North Albert Drive in reference to a welfare check. Concerned families and friends had contacted police earlier after not hearing from the people there. Officers entered the residence at approximately 4 p.m. and discovered 3 adults and 5 minors deceased inside the home, and each appeared to have sustained gunshot wounds. While this intense investigation is ongoing, investigators currently believe there are no suspects outstanding. Evidence suggests that the suspect took his own life after killing 7 others in the home. The suspect is 42-year-old Michael Haight. The 2 other adults in the home were Haight's wife, Tausha Haight, 40 years of age, and Tausha's mother, 78-year-old Gail Earl. The minors were Haight's children, a 17-year-old female, 12-year-old female, 7-year-old female, 7-year-old male, and a 4-year-old male. Now, welfare checks are common, and someone with whom Tausha had an appointment yesterday morning called and reported that she had missed the appointment and requested a law enforcement conduct a welfare check. A few hours after that welfare check call came in and Tausha was not located, a missing persons report was requested and was received by Cedar City Police Department due to Michael's office location in Cedar City. Once determined Michael's home address was in Enoch City, the missing persons report was passed to Enoch City officers, at which point the welfare check to locate Tausha became an effort to find the entire family. A little bit of ancillary information. It is known by court documents that there was a divorce petition that was filed, and that was made part of the information given to dispatch. Crime scene technicians from the Iron County Sheriff's Department, Cedar City Police Department, and Enoch City Police Department worked throughout the night. In fact, some of them are still on duty to piece together the events and to continue to investigate the details of what happened. In the early hours of this morning, the decedents were transported away from the home, and as part of the investigation, we'll have autopsies conducted by the State Medical Examiner's Office in northern Utah. Now, Other family members have been contacted, of course, before we set any press releases out. And they are well aware of the situation and in having conversations with investigators as we speak. Now, we're going to have the mayor talk to you a little bit about the community and give you what's happening right now. And then at the permission of the Iron County School District, Tim Marriott will be talking to you about the resources that have been provided.
Mayor Chestnut was a neighbor to the Haight family and therefore visibly shaken when he went to give a press briefing. But little details would be shared as this was an ongoing investigation.
Good morning, thank you. I am Jeffrey Chestnut. I'm the mayor here in Enoch City. It's not too often something like this hits very close to home. In fact, the Haight's were my neighbors. The youngest children played in my yard with my sons. Enoch City is a very close community. Just a few weeks ago, I was mentioning to my wife as I looked at a Zillow app that less than 1% of the homes in Enoch City were for sale. No one wants to leave here. The neighbors are good, the people are wonderful, and the efforts that we make on one another's behalf is like family. I've seen reports that put Enoch as a rural community, but you should understand that Enoch is a home of lots of young professionals and their families. Our neighborhood alone, one cul-de-sac, I think at last count about 2 years ago, had 55 kids in it. So this is a tremendous blow to many, many families who have spent many, many nights with these individuals who are now gone. It is unfortunate what we're dealing with, but we appreciate both the respect that the media has shown to this point. Seeing some of the reporting, I know that some information has been available through public documents, and I appreciate the respect that the media has shown to the family and the community to this point. I also am very appreciative of the resources that have been made available to our community. We've had calls from Governor Spencer Cox expressing condolences. I spoke with him last night in the command center, and as recently as this morning, we received calls and requests or an offer for assistance from the National Security Council, wanting to make sure that if we needed resources for our community, given the scale of this incident, that they would be made available. So we here in Enoch, a little town of about 7,500, are very grateful to the greater world at large, who are mindful of us at this time. And we ask that if you have the ability to contribute some resources to help, that is great. But at this point, we do ask more that you respect the privacy of the families involved, and that we will do our best as the community leaders to give you information through the media that would allow you to have the information you need to do your jobs and allow that privacy to be respected.
Family mass killings have become a disturbingly common tragedy across the country. In 2022, there were 17 of them, according to a database compiled by USA Today, the Associated Press, and Northeastern University. 10 of them were murder-suicides, and 14 were shootings. The database defines a mass killing as 4 or more people slain, which are not including the assailant. James Park, who represented Tausha Haight in the divorce case, said she had not expressed any fear that her husband would physically hurt her. Park declined to elaborate, citing the investigation into the killings. He said he met with Tausha Haight only twice most recently on Tuesday, and she was an incredibly nice lady. The White House said in a statement that President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden were mourning with the Enoch community. The home where the victims were found were decorated with Christmas lights and located in a neighborhood of newly built single-family homes on a ridge overlooking Enoch. It has a view of houses with snow-covered roofs and snow-white capped mountains in the distance. The divorce attorney for the murdered Enoch woman said that he met with 3 times with his client in the last 3 weeks. Chief investigative reporter Wendy Halloran of 2KUTV spoke with James Park, the divorce attorney for Tausha Haight, just this last Thursday. There were still unanswered questions regarding the motive behind Michael Haight's murders of his wife, their 5 children, and the mother-in-law before he took his own life. However, 2 News investigates did a deep dive searching for some insight into the couple's apparent troubled marriage as they filed for divorce. Records show that after nearly 20 years of marriage, Tausha Haight filed for divorce from her husband, as I stated before, on December 21st, 2022, in the 5th District Court in Cedar, Iron County. Divorce filings are private and access is restricted. Since this divorce involves custody, parent time, and child support become the most important issues because the Haight's have minor children. The only document in the divorce that is public is the domestic relations injunction. It prohibits them from, among other things, engaging in harassment, intimidation, domestic violence, or abuse against the other party of a child. Park confirmed to Halloran that Michael was staying in the basement of the couple's home after he had been served with divorce paperwork. Michael Haight is listed with the state of Utah as an insurance agent for Allstate, but that he had not worked there some time. 2 News investigated found no signs of financial trouble, but an obscure detail emerged during the press conference on Thursday. According to Enoch City Police Chief Jackson Ames, who we saw just speaking, he said, quote, "We had been involved in some investigations with the family a couple years prior that may lead to the troubles that visited upon them Thursday night, Wednesday morning," end quote. Court records do not show anything was ever filed as a result of the investigation, Ames had mentioned. However, 2 News had reached out to see if they could obtain the police reports associated with these investigations that could shed some light into the family's previous interactions with police. Due to attorney-client privilege, Park was unable to say much when 2 News had called him, although he did not mention that he had met with Tausha on Tuesday, although he did. Without knowing the details of how the shootings unfolded, it is not clear whether having those firearms in the house would have helped stop the bloodshed. According to Fox 13, an article dated January 6th of 2023, Tausha Haight told her extended family that her husband, Michael Haight, took the guns from the family's home this last week, just 2 weeks after she had filed for divorce. Sister-in-law Gail Earl told the Associated Press. She said she did not know how Tausha Haight felt about the removal, but said it left the family vulnerable, noting that both Tausha and her mother, Gail Earl, were trained in gun safety and personal protection. Jeannie Earl's comments come after the Earl family issued a statement lamenting the tragedy and revealing that the guns had been removed. The Earl family said in the statement, quote, "Protective arms were purposely removed from the house prior to the incident because all adults were properly trained to protect human life. This is the type of loss that will continue to occur in families, communities, and this nation when protective arms are no longer accessible, end quote. Enoch City Manager Rob Dotson told law enforcement, saying in an emailed statement, quote, police have never had reason and has never had reason to remove firearms in the city of Enoch, end quote. The revelation provides more insight into what happened in the days leading up to the shooting in the southern Utah home that occurred after Tausha Haight had filed for divorce. So, with the little information that we have now, and of course with the ongoing investigation by the Enoch City Police, we are left with the questions, why? And although that question right now cannot be answered, and although we can't put together a whole picture using all the pieces, we do have some puzzle pieces that we could apply to give us what the picture may look like. And I will give you my unprofessional psychological opinion about the man Michael Haight. Now, the type of crime that was used here is what's commonly called as familicide. Familicide is a type of murder or murder-suicide in which one kills multiple close family members in quick succession, which are most often children, spouses, siblings, or parents. And in half the cases, the killer lastly kills themselves, which is the murder-suicide part of familicide. If only the parents are killed, the case may be referred to as a patricide, where all members of a family are killed. The crime may be referred to as family annihilation as well. According to the San Francisco Examiner, dated January 20th, 2007, between 1,900 and 2,000, there have been a number of victims regarding mass murder in this country that were victims of patricide or familicide. And between the last 100 years, there were a total of 909 victims of mass murder, as defined as 4 victims within a 24-hour period. Of those, more than half occurred within an immediate family. Although the familicide cases are relatively rare, they are the most common form of mass killings. A research study published in the Howard Journal of Criminal Justice in 2013 by Elizabeth Yardley, David Wilson, and Adam Lyons has been particularly influential in the field of studying familicide cases. They analyzed newspaper articles covering 3 decades between 1980 to 2012 where cases of familicide were reported. They found a total 71 cases where 59 of the perpetrators were male, and over half were between the ages of 30 to 40 years old when they committed the crime. Michael Haight himself was 41 years old. And the promise of the problems, the problems that are affecting the community in Enoch is that Michael Haight himself was seen as a sociable person, very outgoing person, one who is willing to selflessly help others in times of crisis. However, in studying the psychology of Michael Haight and what little I know of him, one thing that is glaring of Michael Haight is narcissism. And who better tell it than a Austrian-born American psychoanalyst and professor of psychiatry at Weill Cornell Medicine in Otto Kernberger.
Narcissistic personality disorder is one of the severe personality disorder that presents borderline personality organization. As a secondary defense against the fragmenting of one's self-concept and of one's concept of significant others, and all this struggle between idealized and persecutory segments of experience, they have managed to construct what we call a pathological grandiose self that is constituted by a combination of ideal aspects of the self, ideal aspects of others that have been incorporated as if one possessed them, and ideal aspirations of the self as if one had achieved them, while at the same time one's need of others is denied, is devalued. Others are devalued. We don't need them, we are fine. I'm just great by myself, I don't need anybody else. There is an ideal internal world of grandiosity and self-sufficiency, and the rest of the world is constituted by depreciated, worthless people, those who are great and one still has to admire in order to incorporate everything they have, and those who are potential enemies one has to fight off. That structure means that the person seems to be integrated in a way. He's not divided and becomes quite secure. They look much better than the other severe personality disorders. They show on the surface self-satisfaction, grandiosity, excessive concern with themselves, a tremendous need to be admired, but without any mutuality of the relationship. So there is an abnormal love of the self, incapacity to love others, an internal sense of grandiosity and emptiness at the same time. In the treatment, their grandiosity becomes the dominant transference issue. They have to show their superiority to the therapist and keep themselves superior to the therapist, because the only alternative is then, if they would need the therapist, it means that the therapist is superior to them and they would feel immediately inferiorized, humiliated. So there is a long-term struggle. Who is going to be superior, who is going to be inferior, without a capacity for real dependency that gradually has to be clarified and resolved. And then the underlying problem of severe splits between idealized and persecutory relationship come to the fore, the underlying borderline structure against which the narcissistic structure was a defense.
A report by Yardley, Wilson, and Limes reported that 57% of cases in familicide they studied occurred inside the family home, as compared to 17% in an isolated county or spot, no doubt pre-selected by the offender. In 32% of cases, the method of killing was stabbing, followed by 15% of cases involving carbon monoxide poisoning. 69% of cases, the male annihilator committed suicide after the murders. Most of the offense came by gun. Professor David Wilson has stated that, quote, family annihilators have received little attention as a separate category of killer, that they are often treated like spree or serial murderers, a view which presupposes traits such as the idea that the murderer snaps, or that after killing their partner or children, the killer may force a standoff with the police, end quote. This scenario is not an entirely accurate representation of certain killers of familicide. Forensic psychologist Park Dietz in 1986 once said, quote, The family annihilator is usually the senior man of the house who is depressed, paranoid, intoxicated, or a combination of these. He kills each member of the family who is present, including pets sometimes. He may commit suicide after killing the others or may force the police to kill him, end quote. As highlighted by Professor Jack Levin, professor of sociology and criminology and emeritus at Northeastern University, the profile of a man who kills his family, quote, is a middle-aged man, a good provider, who would appear to neighbors to be dedicated husband and devoted father, end quote. Researchers also identify 4 common areas which may be the causes of such family murders: a breakdown in the family relationship and issues surrounding access to children, financial worries and financial hardship, cultural honor killings, and mental illness. These findings echo the conclusions drawn by a 2009 study by Leveille and colleagues, who examined 16 cases of familicide in Quebec, Canada, between 1986 and 2000. They found that social loss, economic reasons, mental illness, and intimate partner loss were the most common likely causes of murder, suicide within the family. As the case will continue to grow, I will continue to give updates. And as usual, I will provide much of the information that I shared with you in the description box below. This is Adam Fitzgerald. Have a good evening.